business for a long time. I've been on set so much, so I've learned from the outside how these different hats are being worn. But when you kind of have to do it yourself, it's a big learning curve. But I feel like it's always, I'm always learning, and like it's always like you're just trying to figure out how to tell a story in every department. And so it's like, oh, you can tell it this way, you can tell it faster, you can, it can be a simpler version. So that's always sort of, I'm very curious. But doing it all at the same time is a little tiring.
I know that there were definitely some comedic, physical comedy you were doing in this film. There were kind of moments on screen where there was no dialogue, you were alone, there was just like lots of like fumbling for keys and reaching out of the shower and those kinds of things. Was that sort of intentional on your part to have, like, were you envisioning that kind of thing when you were writing it, to incorporate those elements?
Well, actually, I felt like so much was revealed when we were all together, and like I loved when Derek answered the door and he had the hand sanitizer and the bags. It made me laugh so hard when we were doing it. It was so funny. So I think like that's the fun of being on set, and you work really hard with everybody to get there. Like you talk about the characters and you try to figure it out, and then it gives room for on the day to play a little bit and to have fun. And so that was it's always the intention to like give space for that.
Mm-hmm. And how about for Jim or Zarek, can you talk about sort of what drew you to the project when you read the script, and the process of working with Katie as a director and in scenes with her?
Yeah, I think for me, I was excited about telling a story about the moment while we were in the moment. You know, that was kind of something that was, you know, hugely exciting, that we would sort of get to, you know, we were all going through it. Everyone was going through it, and then this script sort of came about what we were all going through in that moment. And I just couldn't resist, you know, being a part of it. And then I got to speak to Katie, and we talked about the character, and she was so open about coming up with, you know, new ideas and sort of bringing things to the table. And we talked a lot, and it was, I remember saying to her, like, you know, it'd be great if we could sort of loosen some of the dialogue up. Little did I know that once we got onto set, she was just going to throw all this like crazy improv at us. It was insane, you know, and I was sort of at the mercy of Katie, really, as the writer and as the director. She would sort of...
Because I never know my lines.
Yeah, it was hugely exciting. It was something that we all welcomed, I think, to be a part of that sort of creative community, mm-hmm. and to do what we sort of craved to do, which was to sort of tell some stories, and we'd all been sort of starved of that a bit. So it was amazing to come on to the set and to create a little family for that little moment in time, and we all sort of held on to each other for dear life because we'd all just been through so much, and so it felt very profound actually being a part of the film.
Yeah, it was almost nostalgic watching when I had seen it those early days of the pandemic, and that being the backdrop and the through line of the whole film. And in your feature directorial debut with All We Had, you had the financial crisis as the backdrop of that film, and then you have Rare Objects coming up, and that's sort of the depression at the backdrop of that. So is there something, I don't know if that's a conscious decision on your part to have these like big world crises as the stories? Are you just interested in like individual human stories in those larger ones?
Well, I think, how would I answer? No, I mean, well, with Rare Objects, the book takes place during the Depression, but it's actually now modern day. But modern day today is, there's always a backdrop, right? And it's constantly changing. So I feel like as we're all navigating in our lives, like making movies is more challenging because you actually are trying to find out what that backdrop is. So for these two things, we kind of knew, you know, this is a time capsule of the initial stages, but I think as we go on, it's a little bit more challenging of like, yeah, what is the environment that where these characters are living, because we don't know yet where we are yet. Right? I don't know if that answers the question, but it was a lot of words. So I hope it helped.
And just for the producers on stage and production designer,